Hello, welcome everyone. It's Matthew at Crescentvale here, starting with a little more detailed analysis of self-grading sports cards. Specifically, this card, I'm really interested in. I've actually contacted Upper Deck about it, and if you kind of see here, there is a bit of a nuance to it, where if the light hits it, and it mainly looks like gold foil at the top. But if the light hits it really in certain spots, it has this hollow effect. And when I found this, it really interested me. It sparked my interest and got me excited. I'm like, well, how many of these exist? And then I contact Upper Deck and they're like, well, we can't really release a statement on it. They don't have the records dating back to 1992 on this specific card. Now, if you go and look at hockey does do similar things with the foil, almost like a hollow effect to it. So, my next thought was, would a grading company such as the majors, Beckett, PSA, CDC, SGC, would any of these be able to authenticate this card? And without Upper Deck being able to release official word, I'm like, I doubt they can. So my next thought was, well, I just need to grade it myself. And, there's all different ways you can self-grade and then put it in a custom slab. And I've been doing a lot of research on this. And what I've kind of come to the, I guess you could say, conclusion, or my current iteration, is they have these, it's not a promotion, but it's definitely like, hey, if you want to self-grade, these are, I believe, on Amazon. And by all means, like, you don't have to use the major grading companies. Now, will they have more experience? Yes. Will they have possibly more accurate grades? That's depends. I would like to say yes, but I'm definitely already, as I've started to go through this process of self-grading, realizing how difficult it is to quantify certain aspects of a card. Now, even if when we start to get into the just measuring of the centering, I would like to think that is somewhat easily quantifiable. It's basically how many millimeters is top down, left, right. But where is what I would almost call an anchor point? So, and maybe I should just go and work for some of these companies at the end of the day to figure out their anchor points. They don't really pay the graders a lot of money, but you can kind of see here. I'm trying to get close to the camera for you, and as close as we can get. So you kind of see centimeters on that side, millimeters on this side. And if we go, I'm sorry, here we go. If we start here, I'm kind of using the Upper Deck logo as an anchor point. And again, like, being able to properly quantify anchor points is going to be something that I get better at. But let's just kind of, it's interesting. I have a microscope, but actually the camera on a phone can really zoom in and get some real interesting details here. So from left to right, it looks like 3 millimeters. And I'm also going to be kind of trying to get into, well, is it a fraction of a millimeter? Let me try to line that up even more. So that kind of really feels like 3 millimeters. And I don't feel much of a fraction on that. It's almost right up and down 3 millimeters. And maybe that's exactly what they want it to be. So on the left side of the card, 3 millimeters is what, and I apologize, I'm trying to film and grade at the same time. So if you see my finger in certain shots, I apologize now. So, we just saw on the left side is 3 millimeters, and now I'm trying to use the Upper Deck point of the logo as my anchor point. And 1, 2, 3. That looks like 3. So on just the front, I'm going to consider front and back scores. I'm actually going to mark down my. I'm going to have grading notes, and then there's going to be a YouTube video for each card that I grade, and there's going to be on crescentvale.com a post that accompanies it, and it's going to have all this information. So I'm going to get as transparent as possible to everybody. Each time I put a card into a custom slab, there's a video, there's a web article about it. I'm trying to get as transparent as possible, because when I look at when you look at eBay's kind of condition, if it's not graded, They call it like like near mint pack fresh or something. And then the next option is really just like excellent is the term, and then it says like signs of wear. So I'm like, that technically you could buy something packed fresh. It could be near mint and there could be signs of wear on it. So like the two options that eBay gives right now for self-grading could really overlay each other significantly. Not only that, it's hard to quantify corners, edges, and surface and be able to determine. I mean, like if it's 1 through 8 scale, that's a little bit easier. But once we get to 8 through 10, either near mint, mint, or gem mint, I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be hard. Now, I've graded as an assistant professor. I've graded students' work. I've graded it 1 out of 100. So how my grading is gonna play out here is there's going to be how we just measured those two elements. I'm gonna measure it on the right side of the card and on the bottom. Now, the bottom anchor point again is not going to be as easy to find. On the back side of the card, hopefully the anchor point's a little easier to find. I might use the I in the end word here for an anchor point. I'm going to be able to have an anchor point on the right with that logo. So I'm going to do it on the front of the card. I'm going to do it on the back of the card. That'll be the centering. Same for edges, corners, and surface. Surface is really just front and back of card. But like, it's interesting if you really zoom in on an edge or a corner, and one might not always think this in depth, but it's really, there's a top and there's a back to every card. And every corner, there's a top, there's a front side of the corner, and there's a back side of the corner. And there's really, like, I think it's, for these cards, it's like a 35 point. Is that correct? Let me see, the Zion case. It doesn't come out and say, I think it's 35 point. I think it's like 35, yeah, 35 point. So 35 point is like the thickness of the card. And I'm already determining, like, the thicker card's 130 point. It's almost like, I don't know, if I had to guess, a quarter of an inch, an eighth of an inch thick. So the edges are far more pronounced on the top and on the bottom. On these 30 point cards, if you zoom in, there is still a surface corner on the top right, and then if you flip the card, it'll be a back top. I guess it'd be top left if it's opposite. Flip the card to the side. You get what I'm saying. So just the level of due diligence that I'm going to go into is pretty strict. I'm going to try to get pretty, as, I guess, like you could say, I don't want to use the word strict, but you either lenient, and you can say that corner is really like front and back. You could, what I'm going to do to quantify the measurements is, so I have like 3 millimeters on the top right now and the left. Well, let's just go ahead and measure the right. I'm going to basically, if it's off by a certain amount, I'm going to do the math, and I'm going to say, well, it should be 3 millimeters. If it's not, then I'm going to have to do some number crunching on the front and back, and then get a average amount for centering. And then same for edges, same for corners and surface. I'm going to create scores, and then I'm going to average them. And I'm going to have 4 subgrades, and they're basically going to be average amounts of front right, front left. These are corners in this specific case. Bottom left, bottom right, and then do the back, create scores for each of those, and then average it. I think Becca has its own way of doing it. PSA probably has its own way of doing it. I'm just being as transparent as possible. Like, this is how I'm going to do it. Here's a video. Every card that I self-grade will have this. This card will not go up on eBay most likely. I enjoy it so much. I just wanted it in some hard plastic to make sure it stays secure over time. So here we go. Let's get into the front centering on the right side. We already have the top and we have the left. And I'll probably not always zoom in like this. This is just for the introductory video. Whenever I do future videos, it'll probably be a little, I'll still record it so if someone buys the card can understand, like, well, what did it come out to? But I probably won't go into this level of detail. just because I'm showing the process in this video, but I'm also like aware that this is probably a little too much for each video. So I can already tell this is slightly going to be not 3 millimeters, right? So that's more 2 millimeters than 3. I'd like to see if there's a fraction in here. Actually, that's close to 3, isn't it? Well, no, it's 2. That's 2. It's 1, 2. So, all right, we're going to say the left, or the right surface is 2 millimeters. So again, we're going to measure the back, at the bottom. And that's tough, isn't it? Because you could say the eye is an anchor point, but is it exactly an anchor point? You could also say this logo down here could be considered an anchor, like this basketball. So let's take a look at the basketball because it could be considered an anchor point. I guess like really, where's the end of this ball? You could say like right there, right? But that's 1, 2, significant, 6, 5 to 6. 5 to 6 on that, and then the eye, which again, like, probably need to go to grading school to properly understand anchor points. That's 4 if we're counting the eye, and it's 6 if we count the ball. So, yeah, I wonder also is like, if there's the surface and the back of the card, is it a reflection of one another? Like if, and again, this is just talking through some ideas, like if, I guess you could average them out, but like obviously this, I don't know if you can see here, yeah you can. The space from left to right, top to bottom here feels very symmetrical, and the space from top to bottom from the 453 and this logo feel very similar to what's down here. We'll get the ruler out. So is it a reflection? Like when they go to print, I would almost assume they have to do 2 separate prints on each side. So but is the cut then? It's difficult to be able to quantify all of these numbers, but let's just go ahead and stick with what we know. And then look up the other information later and talk more about that in separate videos. So we have, looks like almost 4 to, you can already see some imperfections when we zoom in on that with a camera on this edge / corner. So that's in between 1, 2, 3, almost 4. And I think we were kind of saying that the surface, if it was like we were taking the eye into account or the ball, so that almost lines up. And then this is the left, but let's see here. So that looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. So I kind of felt like those two did match up. So on the back we have the left is 4 millimeters and the bottom is 4 millimeters. Also, is there room for improvement here? Of course. Are we going to improve as we go? 100%. Okay. So, and I was also thinking this top to the number felt like 4. So let's see how accurate that is. So we have, let's really try to get this perfect. So it's really almost on the 5. That right there. So yeah, that's 5 millimeters, what it feels like to that number on the card. Let me see. Here we go. So 1, 2, 3. Actually, that's 4. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4. Interesting. So I'm going to say the top is 4. And now we just need to get the bottom, or I'm sorry, the right. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would say the center on the back is close to perfect. I would just say we have a slight trying to figure out what the bottom is. There's really no clear anchor point. One could say it's that, one could say it's that. Very tough. We know that the right to the left is a little off. So our back is almost, I would put it almost in the perfect category. I'd give it a 9.5 to a 10. I mean, we'll still quantify it out and measure everything, but I'm saying right now the only slight imperfection to the centering is the right side on the surface, and it's off by a millimeter. So I'll pump it into a AI agent, and we will get a quantifiable number when the video wraps. So we were already kind of zooming in. I have, magnifying glass, but honestly, maybe one of the best things just for this video is a close-up of the corners and the edges. And we can do even more of that, but just for the video's sake. I was looking at this earlier, and I did kind of see the this edge here. And to me, I'm trying to quantify how much, because even if you're just looking at this card like this, you can see it. So if it's with a naked eye, I already have to say that's an 8 to an 8.5 on that bottom edge. Is the bottom edge so torn up that it's a 7 to 7.5? Not really. Let's kind of see if there is any other imperfections. I don't really see much else. But I do see that it's clear, and it's in between an 8 and an 8.5. So the bottom edge, I'm going to give it, if I were to give it a score, if this is a student and they were submitting, the edge bottom surface is, I'm going to say 8.5. I'm being somewhat lenient. You could be more strict on that, but that's going to be the grade that I give it for this. And again, this isn't going up on eBay. This is just for demo purposes and to show you how the level of detail that I'm going into grading each of these cards. So I don't see near as much flaws or imperfections on this edge. I believe this is the right edge. And you kind of see there's two separate edges. There's the top and then there's the bottom. And I'm probably going to give them both for this, that this is the left edge. I'm probably going to give them both. It's hard to say. I might even need to get a microscope to really get in between a 9.5 and a 10, because it's how do you quantify a 10 score? How do you quantify a 9.5? But I'm going to say 9.5 on the left edge. And it kind of felt that way for the top end, or for the front and back side. So that left edge, I'm giving it a 9.5 on front. and back. And what's interesting is I looked at the bottom. On the front is where I feel like the imperfection lies. But I do now want to take a look at the back bottom edge and see if there is. So that's a corner issue there. I'm going to mark that down in the corners. But I believe we're looking at this edge specifically here. And on the back, it's not near as bad. But those corners are already 8.5. You can see white shading around it. And that's not even as bad as this one. So this sadly, my first card is not anywhere near a 10. And I think it's actually kind of nice that I'm pointing out all these things, because I'm not going to just give my own cards awesome scores. What good does that do? You know, we go right back into eBay's two options of, is it pack fresh or is there clear signs of wear? There are clear signs of wear here, but you had to zoom in to see it. And are people really going to go into all this detail? I love sports cards. I love giving people a good value. Now, I do want to make a disclaimer. It'll be in every description of every YouTube video and every post. This isn't guaranteed. I have no way to guarantee these scores. But to build trust, to build transparency, I'm going to give you as much information as possible. But again, I can't sit here and say definitively this will cross over to one of the big grading companies at this score. I'm just going to go into some good due diligence. I'm going to give you all the imperfections. I'm going to tell you everything that could possibly be wrong with it. And if there's less, because these older cards, there's going to be more imperfections. Like the next card that I do will be this Castle Silver Rookie. So it'll be a separate video, but it'll be interesting to see the imperfections on that compared to this older card. This card that came out in 1992, so was that 23, 24 years ago? Wow. That's 20, right? Not 30. It's 30. That's bad. I'm getting old, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm getting old. 30. Whew. 30 plus 30 years. Now, there's a lot of things that could happen to a card in that amount of time. The Stefan Castle is a 1-year-old. So, back to grading. We were looking at edges, and we got the bottom and the left. So now we need the right and the top for the surface. I'm not seeing much imperfections on this. But to be fair, I think, the left side a 9.5. I'm going to give this a 9. Because I realized the older cards are going to have more imperfections. So the right edge on the front is getting a 9. I'm actually going to give a 9 on the right. I guess it technically would be the left if we flip the card. Got to take all that in consideration. On the front side, it's the right. When we have the card front facing up, it's the right side edge. When we flip it over, it would technically be the left side edge, for being exact. So anywho, we got that taken care of. Now we're going to look at the top. And you can kind of see the corners on this, definitely. We're going to hit ourselves over the head with a pretty strict grade on these corners. For the top, I'm not seeing much imperfections. And it's crisp. You know, I also like looking for a crisp. Whenever I gave that 9 on the previous edge, it didn't feel as crisp. And, you know, we could put this underneath a even more high definition microscope and see the crispness. But the top, I'm going to give it a 9.5. So top edge, 9.5. So even if I were to try to average this up, a 9.5, 9.5, 9, 8.5. Let me see. Those two would go to a 9. So it'd be about 9.25. And then the next question is, do you round up or down? If my overall score is, let's say, on average, the front, I guess I can wait till and I got most of the back edges, but 9.25, am I going to round up or down? That's tough. That's really tough. I think it'll be overall, maybe getting even closer with a magnifying glass to see the crispness, like I was saying earlier, to see if we need to round up or down. But that's a good question. Like if they average out to a 9.25, is that a 9.5 or is that a 9? And since this is an older card, I'm going to probably round down. You know, I'm just going to be honest. Newer cards, I'm probably going to round up. And with another thing is like, I have zero desire for pop control. I do not care if these cards if they were perfect and perfect. And I'm realizing how difficult it is to get 10s and why 10s are so difficult. This is just one older card. Even the newer stuff is going to be almost impossible to get a 10-10. And people are like, why is my stuff not getting a 10-10? Well, it's because it's not that pristine. And getting pristine is almost impossible. So let's look at the top real quick. Just double check it. Top edge we're looking at right now. And I wonder also, where does the edge start and where does the corner start? Because one could almost say, well, is it 1/100th of an inch off of the corner is where the edge starts? That's probably something I need to really clearly define. So it's like, well, that was a corner issue. That wasn't an edge issue, because you can already see this. I put that in an imperfection category, this corner here, but a lot of these corners are imperfect. I sent a lot of stuff to Beckett, and I was very upset when they started giving me low scores, and I did not understand why. Now I do. What's also interesting is some graders are more lenient, and I'm just like, why are some people giving this a higher grade and some people giving a lower grade? I'm going to be as probably strict as I can with my own stuff, but I now understand after doing just a little bit of this. So, 9 for the top back edge. I just need to get the bottom. Right now we're at a 9, 9.5, and a 9. So let's look at the bottom back edge to get a final score. And again, if you were grading, if you were a student or if you were a teacher grading a student, would you give this, A plus? And the more you look at a piece of work, sometimes the less you may want to give it an A plus. So I'm going to give that a 9. So we're at a 9, 9.5, 9, and 9.5. Not clear as a 9.25. So again, I'm going to give it a 9. So overall surface, edges, 9. Now my corners, you might say, so let's recap real quick. I think like if I were to try to quantify the centering, I'd give it a 9. I'll do some additional math, but we're at a 9, 9, and here comes the corners. Corners is going to be a bloodbath. I'm just going to be real honest with you right now. I'm going to be real excited to see these two 9s on my custom label that I have going, but I can already tell the corners are going to make my card grade drastically drop. So let's go ahead and start with top left corner. And you can see there is 2 corners. Now, if they're similar, I'm just going to expedite this video because we are getting a little long. But let's just kind of see. We're looking for whiteness. We're looking for any imperfections. And I can give that corner 9.5. So that is, I'm going to give it on both. For the top left, 9.5, and on the back, 9.5. So nice that corner actually came out well, but this one, not as much. And you can see my edges is also a little rough on this card too. I don't know how strict the other grading companies will be, but maybe I need to be more lenient on myself, but I'm not. So that's white. This is kind of like they call it a softening of an edge. That's pretty clear that is, there's imperfections going on with this edge here on the front and most likely on the back too. So if a student were to turn this in, it's in between an 8 and an 8.5. I almost want to drop down to a 7.5. But then I also think of like a completely degraded corner. And then how would this measure up to that? I'll go with an 8. So the surface, top right, 8. A little bit more crisp on this one. I can give that 8.5. So bottom right, 8.5. Now this one, you can see a lot, I don't want to say a lot of whitening, but you can see whitening. I could go down to an 8 on that one. So an 8, 8.5, 9.5, 8. That goes to a 9, 2 8s and a 9. So it's in between an 8.5 and a 9, which is just the front. When we get into the back, might be better or worse. So right there, that's, if a student were to turn that in, and I'm looking for perfection, that's not perfection, right? So now the question is, how far do we drop it? Ooh, 7. 7 back left. Back left 7. I'm trying to think of like really degraded garbage. And is that C work? That's probably C work. Now, it's open for interpretation. I've seen some graders be a little more lenient and give that 8.5 to a 9. So I give it a 7. I'm going to be a little more strict on it. Get zoomed in. See some whitening, not a lot. So maybe a 9 on that one. Back right, be a 9. So that's an 8 in between 8 and 9.5. You know, I'll have to do the math on all this, but if I had to make a rough guess, the corners are in between an 8 and an 8.5. So I'll just, for the sake of the video, I will say 8.5 on corners. And I mean, I'm considering that near mint. I'm not saying it's mint. I honestly said that would kind of line up with the grading companies as well. And they might give it an 8. They may even give it a 7 based on that. When we saw that back left corner, they may hold it more harshly to when specific corners are really bad, but I'm putting all the edges into place and rounding into one number, averaging to one number. You know, I'm just going to look at the surface kind of like this. I like this when we have a nice reflective light. They'd be able to see if there's any creases. We're looking for any dimples. We're looking for any print lines as far as attributes of a perfect surface. And there's also probably moisture that I need to get better at identifying. We'll get that as we go. But the surface is one of the attributes of the card that I really like. And I don't see any imperfections on the surface. So let's go ahead and I'll say that since the card is older, a 9.5 for the surface is about right. So what we're going to do is have subgrades. We're going to give the centering a 9. We're going to give the edges a 9. We're going to give the corners an 8.5 and the surface a 9.5. And overall, that would be mint. That'd be a 9. If you average it out, you have, 9, 9, 8, 5, 9, 5. And between 8, 5 and 9, 5 is 9. So I can just give you a quick estimate and say the card is in mint condition. Now, is it near mint? One could argue that back left corner was a little more damage, and we gave it a 7. One could say give it a 6.5, try to lower those numbers down, get it to the 8.5 overall. Possibly, but I just want to make a quick note. This is a CGC card. It's a 9. It's a mint. And I know one of these corners on this card, I don't want to say it's in as bad a condition, but I do want to show how some of these cards, let's kind of look at this one. Let's even with a case, right? So that corner there to me is not that different than the back left corner that we saw on this card. And that's considered a mint, right? So you see that there. And now you see this corner here. And honestly, a lot of the other attributes line up. I think that's the corner with the most damage on this 9. I haven't got this up on eBay yet. I really like this card. I may hold on to it. It's out at 250. Serial number 230, I'm sorry. So you can just see right there, hey, CGC is marking at that. So honestly, I still feel pretty accurate in my 9. Thank you for watching today, and there'll be more videos coming up soon. Thank you, bye.